Hey, everybody, it's springtime here. I'm live, excited, and full of energy. Did you love that, Dan, that I just said? I'm here with the one and only Dan Dixon. Dan is a complete stud. So I met you, like 3 or 4 years ago? How long has it been?
I think it's been like 4 years now.
Yeah. At a mastermind group. And I signed up for that mastermind group because I went in and that room was just full of people doing big things. I'm like, I was probably the little fish at the time. I'm like, I want to be a part of this. So Dan and I met in this mastermind, and I've been uber impressed from your growth and seeing everything you created. You always just had your shit together. You were like, boom, boom, boom. This is what's
I'm glad
up.
it seemed that way, because that's not
it's not reality. Yeah. So anyway, I asked Dan today to go live with us because he is going to be one of the featured presenters in our Mexico event. And so I wanted to kind of share his story, have you guys kind of get to know him. And also, I think your story is pretty powerful. Like, you are a force to be reckoned with. And I think a lot of agents can really learn from what you're doing. So maybe take a few minutes, introduce yourself, where you're from, your market, what your team's production. I know everybody... You need to hear it because it's crushing it.
Right.
Let's dive into some details.
Cheers. So I'm Daniel. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I have a team of 26 or 27 agents now. I own a mortgage company with about 15 people on that side, a title company, investment business. This year I think we did about 82 million in mortgage business, and we work almost exclusively with my real estate company. And I think we did about 140 million, 340 units or so last year, which was our biggest year. We're continuing to grow. But you know what I love to talk about spring, and I don't think agents talk about enough, is really the failures that got us here, right? Like, the only reason we are where we are today is because I failed, and I failed really fast. And I pivoted and failed again, and pivoted and failed again, and pivoted and failed again. And that's just the way that we grow and the way that we continue to expand.
I love that you said that. So I actually had somebody reach out to me a couple of days ago, and I'm like, I just don't know how I get to where you're at. I'm like, well, first of all, it's been a long time. I'm like 18, 19 years in. But to your point is, I have failed so many times, and it's like one step in front of the other. Like, it's like one thing at a time. So I think sometimes when we do these interviews, to your point, people look at it and be like, oh, that's an unobtainable thing.
Yeah.
Like, me even hearing you be like, damn, 15 people in your mortgage company, like, that's legit, right? So give us a little background. Tell me your story. Like, have you always been in real estate? Is your family from real estate?
Yeah.
Like, how did you get into real estate?
So when I was I think 19 years old, 20 years old, my brother kept pushing me to get into the mortgage space. Okay. So I was selling timeshares at the time, working a second job at the Courtyard by Marriott, loving my life, vacationing, really cool through the timeshare and through Marriott. And he was like, D, you got to get into this. Like, it's solid, it's fun. So I went to work for a company called Lending Tree in California. And I was doing mortgages for people all across the country before the market crashed. And so after the market crashed, moved to Colorado. My wife now and I, we were young, no kids, just our 2 dogs. And we literally, no joke, looked on a map and was like, all right, where do we want to go? Never been to Colorado, didn't have any friends and family. We snowboard, and cost of living at the time was cheap. And we were like, all right, cool, let's go there. So got here, finished up school. My big dream was going to be to become a pharmaceutical salesman. Like, one of my really good friends was doing that. And that was my dream, my vision. And got that, ended up working at Staples selling Post-it notes. And it was the lowest part of my life. I kid you not, Spring. It was so bad. My wife was working 2 jobs, keeping us afloat.
How old were you?
At that time, I was 24.
Okay.
24, 25. And it was a rough part, because it was like, all right, I had this whole plan of going and graduating and becoming pharmaceutical salesman, and no one was hiring for it at the time. And so I had to get something going, and I was doing outside sales for Staples, and it was so bad. It was so bad. And so my wife is holding it down. We weren't married yet at the time, but she's holding it down. And again, my brother comes through and is like, D, I'm working at this really cool startup called Trulia. You should get here. And I'm like, no, you should come work at Staples. Like, it's really cool, benefits and all that fun stuff. And so he won the argument. started working at Trulia, became a top producer there, was selling internet marketing to agents all over the country, fell in love with that. And then they ended up getting bought. They ended up going public, and then they got bought by Zillow. And then that's when I transitioned into real estate. So it's funny because when we first started doing internet lead generation, it was when Gary Keller, everybody else, it was fake. Internet leads suck. Why would you ever spend money in that? And looking back now, like I was prepared for this industry by a job that was paying my bills and helping me learn this side of real estate.
Well,
and so it was.
Oh, sorry, I didn't cut you. Correct me if I'm wrong too on this, Dan. Like that's been like your foundation of your real estate team.
Yeah. Yeah. We generate, I mean, we spend a lot of money. We spend almost $50,000 a month on lead generation. We generate 1,100 leads a month for our group. So there's never a shortage of opportunities for us. But that niche is what we've built this business on. I remember being in rooms when I was a new agent and like, you do internet lead generation. Well, my business is Sphere. And I'm like, well, I don't have a Sphere. So yeah, this is what I know. And this is what we know how to do. And we do it. And we've continued to, a lot of mistakes that agents make and that I made when I was young too, was there's that new bright, shiny object that you want to go chase. And, my coach, Brett, obviously you coach with Brett too. He's an amazing human being. But Brett goes, let's just dial down on what we do well, what we know works, and just do that. Who cares about client events and Sphere business and all this other stuff? Like, go do what you do well, and then we'll continue to evolve over time if we need to. And my brother Sean's and my business plan was to generate leads in other markets across the country and fly to those markets, show buyers, write contracts, put them under contract, and then fly home. That's how much this has evolved over time.
You're like, that was what we were going to do.
That was what we were going to do. Yeah.
So many people probably were not using internet leads at that time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know like for myself, so when I wanted to scale my team, when I was like, okay, I'm going to create a team, one of my dear friends, Heidi Skinner, said, oh, Spring, you need a boomtown. And that at that point, they were exclusive to, you had to get the area. And I remember like spending the money and being scared of the costs and then the leads coming in. And it was like such a rare thing. And so same thing, my whole business though has been built off of internet lead gen. Like I love where you just said, don't go do the shiny object just because everybody else is having a pie giveaway or a pumpkin patch.
Right.
Doesn't mean you need to go do it. You know, when my agents come to me for that, I'm like, okay, it sounds great, but have you sold a house from it? Because if you haven't, we're not doing it.
It's so bad. I mean, we've done all of it. And I'm sitting at the pumpkin patch was like, oh, I do not want to do this right now. I think that's one of the reasons we connected though, because when I heard about your business and we were in that room and like, oh shit, there's another person that does internet lead generation at a high level. When everyone else is Sphere, past client, they have a builder they're working with, or they've done it for 20 years. And,
Well, I guess for me, I've always looked at it as I don't know enough people to create the income level that I want to create.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I've always looked at it is like, cool, I've got my friends and family and Sphere and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like the volume and the money I intend to make and to treat it into a business, I have to create more relationships by broadening. I also think it's just kind of ridiculous, Dan, to think that like consumers use the internet for everything, like absolutely everything. So to think that like you shouldn't be on the online space is just bananas to me. Yeah. Like use it for absolutely everything. So why wouldn't you put your name out there on the internet for online leads? So
absolutely. And I think a lot of agents is they pay the money, they don't have the systems, they don't understand speed to lead. So like I had to look behind the curtain at an early part of my career on how to do this, how to do it at a high level. A lot of my top accounts at Trulia, they were people that were doing this at a really high level. They got it, it clicked. So when I became an agent, there was no convincing. Like I knew what I knew how to do, and we were doing that.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. So when you say it clicked, like you're converting at a high level, give us like a quick 2-minute, like to be semi-successful. What does somebody need to do in the internet space to crush the online lead conversion? Because anybody can generate the lead.
Yeah. Right? And conversion is such a different, it's in my opinion, what people don't talk about enough. They talk about internet lead generation, and that's easy. That's just a spend. Internet lead conversion is where the tough part is. So I think the first thing we've all heard speed to lead. It's something like 74% of buyers will hire the first agent they actually like meet and interview face to face. And so you don't have to be good, you just have to be first. And so we beat that into our agents' heads. You've got to get face to face as quickly as possible, because it's going to be very difficult for you to lose that business at that point.
Yep.
What's different now too over time is because there's such a shortage of inventory, every lead that comes online, they've already talked to 2 or 3 agents. So why are you different? Give a compelling reason on why somebody should work with you versus the other 2 or 3 people that they're talking to. No client ever clicks on only one house. They're always clicking on multiple houses, and they're always continuing to send leads to multiple people. So how quickly can we call them? And then how quickly can we value prop them to let them know all these other really, really, really bad agents are going to be calling you? Don't even answer your phone. I got you taken care of. We're going to say, Realtor, Zillow, those companies sell your information to all these crazy agents. And so don't worry about it. I got a solution for you. I'm going to get you set up on our custom home search and so on. And then the last piece is just call for a purpose. Agents like to call it just to check in. Call with relevance. Call for a reason. I'm calling you because, right? We just had some really crazy, horrific fires in Colorado. And you guys should be calling your sphere and being like, hey, I just wanted to check in. Is everything okay with you? Do you know anyone that was affected? Is there any way I can help? And don't just call to check in on their home search. And are you still looking at buying in March?
Yeah.
That stuff is whack.
I love everything you just said. I don't think that people realize, so there's roughly around 5 to 6 million homes sold annually. This year, I think we had a little over 6 million. But for easy math for me, I'm going to say 5. There are over 125 million online leads sold every single year. So that means that consumer has registered or has been 25 times. So the fact of, like, we teach our agents same thing, the ALM, appointment, location, motivation. But the first thing you want to do is get in front of them, because if you can create that you're a name and a face and a human that like can help them, it's gonna be much more than that person who's just calling. So I love like that you said that, and it's just true. Like it's the name of the game, and it's not going to change. If anything, it's going to get more and more to that arena. So you've built this business. What I've respected about you is you're like, okay, I'm going to play this game. We're going to crush it. But then you recognized that the consumer still needed more when it came to now the lending component and the title component. And when I see needed more, I'm sure you worked with great lenders, but to be able to control the experience of like, all right, we've got them, and now we want to create a great lending experience where it's a low rate. We know they're taken care of. We know if they say they can get the loan, they get the loan. So walk me through kind of that journey of the evolution of you starting a mortgage company, like, or did you go get your LO license, like, and how transition to where you're at today?
So again, I used to do mortgages. So I knew I'd be in situations when I was selling and the LO's like, hey, you know, such and such happened and I can't get them approved. And I'm like, well, have you thought about paying down debt? Have you thought about, you know, borrowing money to do this? Have you thought about a gift? And I'm giving a lot of solutions on how I can still get that loan to close. And it took only a couple of times of lenders being like, oh, I didn't think about that. I'm like, you didn't think about that? This is your job. So it really came down to 3 things on building the mortgage company. The first thing was the experience, being able to control, you know, you're sitting at closing, you're waiting for docs to show up and you're blowing your lender up and they're screening your calls. You have no idea what's going on. Everyone's pissed. And no matter how great you did through the transaction, how nice of a deal you organized for the client, that's what they remember, is sitting at title, waiting to get closed. Super frustrating about that. Being able to get any deal done was very important to me. I used to work in the subprime space. So when I was doing mortgages before, so if there's a deal to get done, I want to get it done. Even if it's not a slam dunk, I don't care. I want to be able to problem solve it, think outside the box on other ways that we can make this deal work. So the agent makes money, the client gets a house, kind of everybody wins, being that problem solver. And then obviously the last piece was the monetary side of it. I dealt with banging my head against the wall with lenders, and that's frustrating. And so-and-so doesn't call their client at the right time. And my agent's calling me, and then I'm calling the lender and scolding the lender. And it's like, you can only do that for so long before you're like, all right, I gotta figure this out. And then when we really started to pop and we started getting over that $70-80 million number, I remember, I think it was Q1 of 2018 or I think it was Q1 of 2018. I asked my lender, I was like, hey, you closed $7 million in the last 2 months. What did you make on that? He's, oh, well, and I got to pay this and I only make this and da, 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 da. And at the end of the day, he was making like 1.5 points on every one of those loans. So you're talking about $100 and some thousand, and I had like a $6,000 MSA with him. And I'm like, nope, pivot. Yeah. We're going to go build this. We're going to go build this for all of those reasons. We give at the point now where we're at in the broker space, we don't charge origination fees. We don't charge processing fees. We don't charge underwriting fees. We have limited appraisals for the most part. We don't have bloat in our costs because we're a small company and we can pass that on to the consumer. So we don't get shocked because we're at least a 0.5 point lower than every other retail branch in the city. And it increases our purchase power. It helps us compete. We can tease the rate up a little bit and give the buyer credits to do like a true no-cost loan. We just have more control and more autonomy over what we want to provide to our clients and not just be in the box of being a retail lender or having a lender partner.
Yeah, I think that's the key to it. Two things, like for the consumer, end of day, like you have their best interest, right?
Yeah.
I think that the consumers realize how much bloat, as you said, is in lending. So the fact of it saying you being like, okay, we can create the lowest cost option for our clients because we're helping them all the way through. The other thing from an agent perspective is the agents bear all of the cost of generating the lead.
Right.
So if you think about it, like we generate that client and then we're handing it off. And the cost of it, just like you said, you have $50,000 a month ad spend. I know I'm over 6 figures right now in cost on my team per month. Yeah. And so I don't think that people realize how expensive to generate. I mean, an average Zillow lead is $300 just to make the phone ring one time, right?
Yeah.
Like it is crazy. And so when people hear that, they're like $300 a lead, not like I'm going to purchase a home just for them to be like Zillow's connecting you with da 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 da. And I'm a freaking fan of Zillow, just so you know. So that's not me saying anything negative. I'm just saying the cost of it is substantial. So I love this. So you've got 15 people. I am curious. Go ahead. Sorry.
Real quick to talk about lead conversion. One of the game changers for us, and this was actually a byproduct of COVID, but we warm transfer a lot of our opportunities from our agents to our lenders. So I always have, when you're doing internet lead generation, someone's ready to take an app, you got to go now. We can't schedule a call for tomorrow at 4. We've got to go now. And so because we had to be away and separated during COVID, it really made our agents increase the communication with the lending team. So the ability to be able to create a process of warm transfers, to know that when my agent calls a number, somebody in the mortgage team is going to be ready, willing, and able to take an app, build rapport. It helps our conversion as a whole. So when we're converting our leads, our Zillow and Realtor leads at just under 4%, a lot of that's because they're sticky, because we get on the phone with them quick, we value prop them, and then we get them with our lender to pull credit. Once they're at that point, for the most part, we've pretty much won the business.
Yeah, well, that was actually going to be my question. How are you getting the conversion from your sales team to your lender, but the live transfer, which regardless, even if you didn't own the mortgage company, it's just brilliant. Like at the end of the day, if they're ready, trying to have it like, I'll call you at 5 o'clock, like getting them on the phone at that point is just fantastic.
Agreed. I would recommend that for any agent. If you can, we tried to work that process with our lending partners, but they're servicing 15 other agents.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to pay that much attention to our business, even if we are the number one team. And so that was a big thing of what we wanted to build. We're like, how can we get, we need someone available at 8 o'clock at night. How do we do that? And so we have 2 of our lenders in Hawaii. We have another lender that's back east. So we're covering from like 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m. Mountain Time, and always have somebody available to be able to talk to clients, answer questions, get pre-approvals out, and so on.
So what's your vision for your mortgage company? Like where are you wanting to take it? Because it sounds like you're all over the US, right?
Yeah. So we're getting licensed in multiple states now, with us owning the company now. And one of the reasons we wanted to get out of the retail space and into the broker space is because it's gonna allow us the ability to build a joint venture and help agents monetize mortgage. I don't expect very many agents to go get a license and build a company like I did, right? Although I'll help you if you want to. But there's not a lot of agents that are truly monetizing mortgage, or they're getting an MSA that is not paying them what they should be getting paid for being able to originate the amount of business that as big teams originate. And to stay truly easy, RESPA compliant, you've got to own it. You got to own a piece of it.
Yep.
So through the title venture, helped me understand that aspect of it. And the only way you're going to get agents to continue to give you their business, an MSA and kissing their ass all the time as a lender, it's cool, but that's not really my path. I'd rather bring you into an ownership group, share the wealth, and build a massive business that everybody can eat on.
I love that. And at the end of the day, commissions are being squeezed so much for the real estate industry to survive. Two things are happening is, and yes, I'm going to say this and a lot of agents are going to hate me for it, but that mediocre random agent will no longer exist in 5 years. Agreed. Because the consumer is either going to go to a large team that has the marketing and they have all the systems, or they're going to go to that area expert that has that branding. It's like, I got to go to Dan because he is my local neighborhood expert. But the middle of the road agent, it's just going to be really hard for them to compete. But with that being said, the players coming in with like Zillow Flex and OpCity and consumers paying less on commissions, by the time you take a 35% off the top, plus the agents are getting a 2% commission, like the commissions are just squoze, right? Yep. So for this to be a viable business, you have to have all of it in one package. And I think that's the vision for the industry in general of how do we make this great for the consumer, a process that is streamlined, and also that us as business owners can afford to keep on doing it, right?
Agreed. And that commission compression is seriously scary, right? It's like we've been making what we make for a while, and it's not about trying to increase commissions necessarily. Now they're going to be even more visible for consumers to see, which is fine. But I think that the pivot spring that a lot of agents don't make is really becoming business owners. Like, who cares about your GCI? Like, what is your net? And when you really start having that conversation and caring about that conversation, ancillaries start making so much more sense, because you're like, wait a minute, I'm doing all this work to generate the lead, and then I'm giving money to the title company, and I'm giving money to the inspector, and I'm giving money to the lender. Like, how can I eat on all of that so the consumer has a better experience from start to finish, and I'm able to protect myself and my family and continue to have my business grow? I feel like it's a win-win for everybody.
It is a win-win. So with that being said, this is why I wanted you to be on here, as well as I wanted you in Mexico. So the theme for Mexico, so I'm just gonna be ridiculously transparent. Like, I was like, all right, I want to do a badass event. I want to have it be a seasoned agent because I want to have a higher level conversation. Yeah. And let's pick a cool venue, spend 3 or 4 days. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like I've grown when we go to these things, but then it's the after hours that we can have a real combo. And so I was like, I'm going to pick somewhere that people can have a real combo and it'd be fun. But once I booked it, I'm like, oh shit. Like, I booked a venue in Mexico, and now it's like getting people there, making it rad. So I'm like, I'm going to go pick the people that are cool, that have great value to add. And you're one of them. So I'm really excited. So my point of this is I wanted you because you've done it. Like, you've built a great team. You know how to lead generate. You have your ancillary businesses. You also have mortgage and title, and you also have a great investment business too. That's what so the mastermind we're in a wealth mastermind. And he does a lot of that. And so you're going to come to Mexico. I think you're bringing your leadership team as well. And you're going to be hitting on all this. Like, you're going to be walking through how you did this, from how you got into the mortgage, how you got into title, how you're doing the investment. And then I think the secret sauce is like the after sessions of like, let's actually sit down and have a real combo. And also maybe see if we all collab and partner up. Like, mortgage and title, all these JVs happen because cool people get together. I know, like, my JV is, and title has a bunch of agents in Utah that we all own the title company together, right? And same with your mortgage. That's kind of your intention, is that you're wanting to go be like, let's go partner up and crush it, right?
Great. And I think that the amount of everybody learns so much to know. And so they go to these classes, they go to these events, they could do these online such and such is, and they know they take all their notes and they know what they know, but no one knows how to do it. And I think that's where a lot of the value of these groups and staying somewhere for a period of time and getting out of your current element at home, because now those after hour conversations are more built on the doing. What's the first step? Like, what do I need to do first to be able to start getting these things in place? And you don't really dive into too much of that when you're learning the concept of what is actually happening. So I think it's invaluable. The amount of conversations we've had after hours, the ton of stuff that I've learned from you and other people in our group. It's not during the day that really has everything sink in and give you those nuggets to implement.
Well, and I think the key to this business is what you said earlier, is you're failing forward, but finding the people who've done it before you that you want to emulate and learn from their mistakes. So there's no reason that everybody needs to go and fail. They can learn from my failure of my mistakes, your mistakes, and things like that. And so that's where these type of things come into play, of creating those relationships where you can pick up the phone and be like, hey, Dan, I'm thinking about doing this. What am I not looking at? Or vice versa.
I think your tribe is so, I mean, I've only been licensed for 7 years. And so I don't really have a big tribe outside of our group. And so a lot of people are like, well, why do you share so much information? I'm like, because I love people that do some cool stuff at a high level. Like I want to be in more rooms where people are sharing great information and looking at things from a different perspective, and not talking about how to sell a house or a listing appointment you went on. Like, no, let's talk about building wealth and buying apartment buildings and building ancillaries and growing massive organizations, and not how to do some, in my opinion, somewhat generic type stuff.
Yep, I agree. So anybody who wants to come, registration is still open. I'm actually running a BOGO right now, buy one, get one free for just till the 17th of the month, because we're like New Year, new special. We actually have a ton of people who have already signed up, so I'm super pumped. And actually today we made a post. I'm getting all of our friends being like, I'm in. I'm like, yes, it's going to be so freaking fun. So
it's gonna be dope. That resort is insane too.
It is insane. I will say this, COVID, and I hate that word, but, and Mexico's a little bit of a challenge of like our room block's already full. So now I'm needing to get another one, and just getting, which is fine. We have enough room in the venue to like do our thing, but to get a discounted room block. Anyway, it's been a challenge, but it is what it is. So
we went a couple of years ago, we went zip lining there.
Yeah, me too. It was rad.
So cool.
So that's actually included. All of that's included in our stay. So it's going to be all the events of the activities are included. So I'm super excited about it. I'll post below the link. If you guys, like I said, we have a BOGO. Dan's audience are friends. There's a discount. This isn't a moneymaker for me. It's more or less, I want to grow with people who want to do cool things and expand our tribe. So
agreed.
Dan, I'm also going to put your info below if they want to reach out to you if they have any questions.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
As am I.
I'll see you soon.
Honored to be able to speak there, and it should be really cool. I'm excited to do it, meet some of your network. Just share information and just watch our tribe grow.
Watch our tribe grow. All right, my friend. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.